The Colorado Buffaloes have experienced a bit of an exodus to the transfer portal. Is it time to panic just yet? I'll talk about it.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcast. So thank you guys for making me your first listen of the day. Like I said, all things Colorado Buffaloes and all things college football, this is the place for you. Let's talk about it. If you guys weren't aware of the calendar, the transfer portal officially opened today, Wednesday, April 16th. So as you can imagine, there's been quite a few entries. I saw reports of around 500 players are in the portal, scholarship players that is, and it's expected to grow. Now, granted, they don't have a lot of time to figure things out, so it'll be a fast-moving process for them. But until then, it is the transfer portal time. And so Colorado, like every program, has seen a few departures, and I wanted to run through them because I think, especially since it's Deion Sanders, there's going to be a lot of like, oh my gosh, Colorado lost 7 players, or oh my gosh, Colorado lost this many players. Are they doomed? Are they going to contend for the Big 12? Like, blah, blah, blah. Let's go through the players. I'll break down how I feel about the departure and more. Some of these guys, we already knew their intentions, but today it became official because obviously just because you decide you're going to transfer doesn't mean you have to. It also doesn't mean that the program has to let you back, but that's a discussion for a different day. So starting with the guys who I think are the 2 biggest departures. Isaiah Gustav, Savion Riley. Isaiah Gustav, running back, transferred in from Arkansas, Florida guy, led the team in rushing. I think he's probably the biggest loss simply because I think with a competent offensive line, Colorado's run game is going to look a lot different this year, especially with Caden Salter really adding to that RPO mix. But Mr. Isaiah Gustav didn't want to wait it out, or maybe he just was sort of sensing that he was no longer going to be in the mix transfer portal or running back wise in the running back room, right? I do think that the Buffs will probably look elsewhere because Cam Michael, he is not going to be switching to running back. So the running back room is Charlie, it's Dallin Hayden, Michael Welch, and then Brandon Hood, or Colton Hood, excuse me. So it's one of those things where I think that there's going to be some room for growth, and obviously losing him really doesn't, or Brandon Hood, excuse me, not Colton. I think it's one of those things where you lose a running back like him before your offense was really able to figure out how to use him. It hurts, but I think they'll be okay. Savion Riley, he was a guy who got some snaps when Shiloh Sanders was struggling. Snaps when Shiloh Sanders was injured, got some snaps at safety for the Buffs. Tafiq Bayard. I think that's common in this transfer portal era where it's like you bring in a guy who maybe he didn't research Colorado well enough, right? Maybe he thought he was going to come in and start over Shiloh or Cameron Craig, and it's like that's just not going to happen, right? One of them, I mean, they were both really good, mind you. They're both all conference players. A little flex there because my head's itchy. They were both all conference players at their previous stop, and both of them have great relationships with the staff. One of them's a coach's son. The other one has played for the coach since high school, right? So maybe he just wasn't aware of the surroundings. Sam Hart is leaving the program and is he's expected to medically retire. He tore his ACL this past year. And then arguably the biggest loss of them all, they also lost Chijoke Nwankwo, Chizozi's younger brother, who was a walk-on. He left via the portal. So, I mean, nothing too crazy there because obviously he wasn't going to really make an impact. But the biggest loss of the portal thus far for the Buffs comes in the wide receiver room. And it's one of those things where maybe it was a homesick thing, or maybe it was just he could read the writing on the wall that he just was not a part of the initial rotation. Adrian Wilson, 4-star recruit, ranked as the 306th wide receiver according to 24/7 Sports, 40th wide receiver, or 306th player, 40th wide receiver, 43rd best player in the state of Texas. He picked Colorado over programs like Arizona State, Auburn, Baylor, TCU. Now, what does this tell me? Well, for one, they just brought in Sincere Brown, the Campbell transfer, 6'5", big-bodied, proven at the college level, or at least has some college experience to go off of. But it's like, okay, you couldn't wait it out, right? You couldn't see, but it just tells me he just wasn't impressing, right? It tells me maybe he had fallen somewhere down the line on the depth chart, right? Colorado has other talented receivers coming in as freshmen as well, that I think we're probably going to have bigger roles, right? Quanell Farrakhan, Quentin Gibson, both coming out receiver. I already mentioned Sincere Brown. So Colorado, and they're looking at other receivers, right? I told you guys earlier this offseason, like if you guys pay attention to what I say, right? I'm telling you that I was told Colorado was going to get more receivers because this receiver room is not nearly as good as last year's, and it's not even as good as the one before that, right, with Xavier Weaver, Jimmy, and Travis. And so I think there's a lot of room to grow for this wide receiver room. I think a lot of people are really excited about the names, and it has a ton of potential. I'm not saying it doesn't, but Colorado wants proven players, and I don't know where everyone lost the plot of, like, Deion Sanders this whole time has been saying he wants proven players, and now all of a sudden because he gets 3 high school recruits, like, he's not going to want proven players. Right? Like, he wants those guys to sprinkle in. He doesn't want to, I won't say he doesn't want to develop those guys, but he's not going to count on those guys to step in right away and be the guys. And so I think for young Mr. Wilson here, it just wasn't a fit. Maybe he got a little homesick. Maybe he could read the writing on the wall that, like, hey, I'm not going to be one of the key guys here. It happens. And at the end of the day, it's one of those things where you have to do what's best for you. So he has 5 years to play 4 years of football, assuming because he's still relatively, like, fresh from the recruiting trail, he should still generate some interest, but we'll have to wait and see where he ends up. When we come back, the New York Giants have made their decision on whether or not Travis Hunter could play both ways. But first, a quick break. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. From 3-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, so make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Let's talk about it. Travis Hunter basically threatened retirement, a career change, if you will. The other day, if you guys weren't aware, Travis Hunter, and I'm paraphrasing here because I don't have the quote in front of me and I don't remember it, he said, if a team doesn't let me play both ways, I will stop playing football. And it's like, maybe he was bluffing, or maybe he just was saying this to say this. I think part of it is, well, I mean, I know exactly what it is. It's a tactic, right? The NFL draft is 8 days from now, the first round that is, and he has to sort of figure out what his future looks like, right? And I think for him, he still wants to play both ways. I don't recommend it. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend it. I'm not saying I would do it or could or ever will do it, because I'm a quarter of the athlete his left toe is. But realistically, Travis Hunter is basically trying to scare teams away from him in a good way, right? Say that's the Browns, and the Browns like, you know what? We don't need a corner right now. We need you at receiver. We don't need a receiver. We need you at corner. Travis Hunter is trying to scare those teams away from him. He is trying to be like, hey, I am telling you right now, this is the more extreme version of the Eli Manning. Similar, actually, because Eli Manning threatened to, I think it was to go to law school, and John Elway threatened to play baseball because I think the Yankees had drafted him, if I'm not mistaken. So this is Travis Hunter's version of those things where it's like, if you don't let me do what I am planning on doing, I will leave the team. I will leave football until someone figures it out, right? I think Travis Hunter is so personally motivated by people saying he can't do this that he will do anything in his power to make sure he proves he can do it. Now, I admire the motivation. I don't think that should be his only motivation, but again, it's not my life to live. So I think it's interesting that he's that dead set on it. He's like, you know what? This is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it. And so, according to a report by On3 had this first. Joe Shane was talking about it, and he was asked if they would let Travis play both ways. And he says, he's fun to watch. It's unique that he has the ball skills, the route ability, and then also ability to go on the other side and play corner. You just don't see that every day. A lot of times, if these guys can't catch or they can't play receiver, then they get moved to DB. This guy can do it all. So he's also a great kid. So it's hard to keep him off the field, and he's motivated to play both ways. So again, you're always worried about the length of the NFL season, of the NFL, 17 games, and training camp. If he gets hurt doing something that he's not doing full time, you're going to kick yourself. But he's a unique athlete that I think will be able to do both. So clearly the Giants are in on Travis. And I think that's a smart move by them. And I think whatever team drafts him should do this, right? And I'm not saying that this is a very ethical way of doing it, but hey, it's the NFL, right? I think whatever team drafts Travis Hunter will give him a shot at playing both ways. I think they will say, yeah, dude, give it your best. We want to see you do it. We want to have the first two-way player since helmets didn't have face masks, since they were smoking cigarettes on the sidelines. We want that. But it's not going to be permanent, right? You know that, right? Like, they're going to look at him and go, well, Travis, you were looking tired, or we had to sub you out, or we just don't feel like you have a grasp on this, or we just don't feel like this is the best way to utilize you. And they're going to figure out a way to make it seem like maybe it's his idea, or maybe it's just not working out, that he can play both ways. That's how I foresee it happening. I'm very cynical in that matter. I would love to see someone give him a true opportunity to play both ways. But again, the NFL does not want to pay someone to be a part-time player at two positions. So that means they have to commit to playing him both ways all day, every day, like Colorado, which means they would also have to commit to giving him preferential treatment like they did at Colorado, where he didn't practice, or he only had to do certain things. Now, Travis obviously put in the work, but Colorado made it very easy for him to be healthy and be ready. And I just don't know if an NFL team is going to be willing to do that. So that is my concern with that. That is why I'm on the fence of, like, I just don't foresee it happening. And if it does happen, it's going to be fool's gold. It's going to be like, yeah, Travis, play both ways for us. And then it's going to be like, actually, we only need you at receiver, or we think you're better as a corner. Because it's going to happen, right? Everyone in the NFL is saying that he has to pick a position, or the team will pick a position. If I'm Travis, I'd rather pick my position. I don't know Travis personally, but I feel like he just loves football so much. I have a hard time imagining he'd walk away from the sport. But then again, I mean, it's the way the NIL era is and all this. Not that Travis was ever a part of like that toxic aspect, but it's just one of those things where it's like, who knows? Maybe he would. Maybe he'd be like, you know what? I'm just going to go play arena football, or I'm going to just go Twitch or do whatever. And like, maybe like, I don't know what the possibilities are for him if he doesn't play football, but I imagine he'll be all right. So Travis Hunter, the Giants are willing to, or at least they're making it seem like they're willing to let him play both ways. Again, we'll just have to wait and see. With the transfer portal open, I think Colorado has some clear positions of needs. I'm going to highlight some guys who I think they should target, and I will also highlight a couple of guys that they are already targeting. So we'll be right back. Welcome to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you don't miss out on a moment of the coverage. The Colorado Buffaloes, according to 24/7 Sports, are expected to get a visit from Illinois State defensive back Deion Parks, Detroit native, had 45 tackles, 11 pass breakups, and a pick last year for the Illinois State Redbirds. I think that's obviously I think they're gonna have to get creative, right? I think they're corner wise, they're pretty good at the top, but I feel like there's room for depth, and they also need more talent at safety. Tion Parks is 6'1", 180, so I mean he's a guy that he played really well. He's going to play himself into a better situation this past year or this next year. Colorado also really needs, and I'll go over. I'm going to give you guys names of who I would like Colorado to go after, because at the end of the day, you got to make moves, right? You can't just be like, get this, get that, and you're fine, right? You got to do something. And so I'm pulling out the portal right now, and I'll sort of give you quick guidelines of who I think they should go after, because I think they need a receiver. I think they need a running back, and I think they need a linebacker. I also think that a defensive lineman or two wouldn't hurt, because obviously the more depth, the better. And so I'm going to go position by position, give you guys who I think. This is unconfirmed. I will do some digging on these guys, but who I think are the guys that Colorado should be going after, just so they have more talent and depth at these positions. So, running back, go give a look to Savion Red. Coach Prime has a type. He likes small, compact running backs, and Savion Red is, I think, the perfect fit. 5'10", 214. He's a ball of just like pure power. Didn't play a ton at Texas when he was initially there. He had 30 carries for 131 yards and a touchdown in 2023. Had 6 catches as well in 2022. Then he transfers to Nevada. He follows one of their former coaches who became the head coach. 119 carries, 687 yards, nearly 6 yards per carry, 8 touchdowns. I like that, right? I like that a lot. I don't think that hurts. I think you go out and you get him, and things could be different for you. Another guy, FCS level. This is like a future investment as well. Chamar Brown, North Dakota State, freshman this past year, had 244 carries for 1,100 yards, 15 touchdowns. I mean, he's used to being a cowbell type of guy, and I think it wouldn't hurt for Colorado to add another running back to the room, because injuries happen, and they're obviously not going to move Cam McKell. So, yeah, I mean, or Cam Michael, excuse me. So you just have to do what you got to do. Wide receivers, I'm liking Trevor Pena. Now he's a New Jersey guy, East Coast guy that's been at Syracuse for the past 4 years, 84 catches this past season, 941 yards, 9 touchdowns, 11.2 yards per catch, was an all ACC guy. The more experience, the better in the receiver room. The production is not there for this unit as a whole. I think that there's I think it's worth taking the risk. And also, Colorado likes bigger receivers. And this guy, I think it'd be a little interesting because he didn't play a lot last year. But in the year prior, I think it says more about the program that he was at, how they misused him. Damian Alford. So he's transferring from Utah. Started his career at Syracuse, and in 2023, he had 33 catches for 610 yards, 18.5 yards per catch, 3 touchdowns. He's 6'6". I think if you're bringing in a couple guys, you could afford to take a flyer on a guy who maybe hasn't lived up to the hype that much. And I think Damian Alford, he only had 1 pass attempt this past year. Utah didn't use him at all. They were a disaster. They were disgusting to watch, honestly, Utah was this past year. So, really, really would like to see the Buffs go there. Then, linebacker-wise, I don't think it hurts the Buffs to go get another linebacker. I think you have Reginald, you have Martavius, right? I just feel like you look at some of these guys in the portal, and there's some potential there. And there's some guys who have been proven, like Shea Taylor, Ohio transfer, 70 total tackles, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 interception, 6'3", 230. He's got the size. And if you want to go get a guy who's played at the Power 4 level, and you're going to have to take a flyer on a guy, you'd look at a guy like Jason Hewlett from Michigan. Didn't play a lot. Hasn't played much at all. 3 total tackles, 6'2", 227. But you kind of look at what he was projected to be. He was an athlete, 4-star, right? One of the higher ranked recruits in the country. Colorado could, I say, why not? Take a flyer. I don't think it hurts to have depth. And I'm sure as the portal continues to open, there's going to be more interesting names, but these are just a couple of guys that I would like the Buffs to, or I'd like to see the Buffs make a move after, because, you know, when you have depth, it's a good problem to have, right? When you go, we already have two guys here. It's like, okay, we're not looking at the bigger picture. We're not looking at the fact that it's a shallow group. Safeties, and this is where it gets interesting. The safety group is looking pretty good right now. Gregory Smith from Florida, he's someone who I think would be good. Kennedy Urlacher from Notre Dame, son of Brian Urlacher. I think there's a lot of guys, portal or safety wise, that I feel like Colorado could at least give a look at. There's a Wyoming transfer who I think is a little bit underrated. Rook Brown, 36 solo tackles, 3 interceptions, 6 picks. 6 pass deflections. 5'11", 187, a bit undersized. So it's like, okay, you have to be taking a flyer there. But there's other guys too. Like I said, Kennedy Urlacher, DeAndre Boykins from North Carolina. So those are some of the names that I think the Buffs should go after. Again, as the portal opens up and more things develop, I will update you guys. But I think Colorado is going to be a major player in the portal this year, or this spring window. They got some pretty good guys last year. Let's see if they can replicate it. So appreciate you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you don't miss out on a moment of the coverage. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow, like I said, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.